Never forget. This has been a common phrase used throughout history in relation to terrible events. American slavery, the Holocaust, the Chinese Cultural Revolution, and most recently the events of 9/11/2001. Now please have a seat. "9/11 is one of the most famous or infamous days in United States history. Along with Lexington and Concord, the Gettysburg Address, Pearl Harbor, Kennedy being shot, we will never forget. Certainly few of us will. In my experience, though, it's much easier to never forget the bad things. Whether it's events which are now admittedly trivial in comparison, like a failed relationship, something foolish that we've done, an argument that you may have heard between your parents, it's easier to never forget the bad things. The good things may fade into our own personal history, but the bad things we never forget. And it seems to me it's the same way with 9/11. It's easy to never forget the planes flying into the towers, the close to 3,000 people that lost their lives, that this was caused by terrorism. We should never forget these bad things. But we should also never forget the good things. Otherwise, we run the risk of dwelling only on the bad, and then our memory is incomplete. I will never forget Wells Crowther, 24-year-old equity trader in the North Tower, who after the first plane hit called his mother, left her a voicemail telling her that he was fine. The man in the red bandana, whose picture still graces the mantle at the house of Ling Young, one of the 18 people he saved. He died in a stairwell, carrying up a jaws of life to help still more. I will never forget Wells Crowther. I will never forget Amy Sweeney, a flight attendant on American Airlines Flight 11. After hijackers took the plane, she calmly called the flight service at Logan Airport. She had the calmness and presence of mind to provide details on the hijackers, what they looked like, what they were wearing, what seat they sat in. Because of her, the FBI knew quickly that Al-Qaeda was responsible. I'll never forget Amy Sweeney. I will never forget Colonel Mark Sassville and Major Heather Penny, who, when they were told about Flight 93 heading to Washington, took off in their pair of F-16s to go after it. They were authorized to shoot the plane down. Now, we all know the story of Todd Beamer and his Let It Roll team, who broke into the cockpit and battled the pilots for control, so the F-16 pilots ended up not having to do anything drastic. But what you may not know is that even though they were authorized to do it, there was no chance they were going to shoot that plane down. None. How do I know this? Because their planes were unarmed. Prior to 9/11, there were no armed airplanes in DC guarding it. If Flight 93 had not crashed, Sassville and Penny were fully prepared to ram the 757 with their airplanes to bring it down. They were on a suicide mission and they knew it. But their job was to protect U.S. airspace. Now you might say they were in the military, they had their orders, and they would have followed them. Yes, they would have. But I will never forget Colonel Mark Sassville and Major Heather Penny. I'll also never forget Joe Torrillo, whose story may be the most amazing of them all. Joe had studied the Twin Towers in the past, and he knew after the planes hit that they were going to collapse. He ran to the foot of the towers and urged everyone, including a large triage station, to clear away, please. Because of this, he saved countless lives. As the South Tower fell, he was right next to it. The resulting wind blew him towards the Marriott, which split in half and covered him in rubble. With life-threatening injuries, including a crushed spine, he was pulled out in 20 minutes and put on a small boat to safety. But wait, there's more to his story. Just then, the North Tower fell and sent chunks of debris toward the boat. At the last second, Joe, with his crushed spine, managed to dive into the engine room where he was again covered in rubble. He was rescued 40 minutes later and survived. He saved countless lives. I will never forget Joe Turillo. And last, I will never forget Kameli Nyoma from a remote village in Kenya. That remote village has a total annual economic output less than 1 aisle of our Wegmans. He was studying to be a doctor in the US, and when he went back home, his tribe heard the fantastical story of 9/11. Buildings so tall, they could touch the sky. Fire so hot, it could melt iron. Smoke and dust so thick, it could block out the sun. They were so moved that they decided to present 14 cows to America. Because there is no nation so powerful it cannot be wounded, nor a people so small that they cannot offer comfort. I will never forget Kameli and the Maasai. Today and every day, I encourage us all to never forget the good things, not just about 9/11, but about neighbors helping neighbors, the times without children, the accomplishments and praise that we get at work, the opportunities of living in such a wonderful and diverse community, and the laughter from the sheer joy of life. Never forget, but never forget it all. Thank you.